The moment you're agitating for Biafra or Oduduwa nation, they think you're calling for war. Ifafunsho, a popularly known controversial Twitter user, atheist Ifafunsho, has allegedly taken to Twitter as she has disclosed her claim on what she thinks is the major problem in Nigeria. According to her, many school graduates are not really educated and lack knowledge. Lack of knowledge is one of the problems in the society. In her words, she said, the big problem in our society is lack of knowledge. I said lack of knowledge because many of our school graduates aren't really educated, they are miseducated. So the moment you're agitating for Biafra or Oduduwa nation, in their head, you are calling for war, not self-determination. Well, I mean, she really came to shake the tables. I mean, I guess what she's talking about, my interpretation, has to do with lack of exposure, I guess. And the thing is, when I think the formal way of learning, getting your degree, all that, there's only so much you can do, especially in the real world where you'd have to apply such knowledge. And to be honest, most of the knowledge that you actually learn, apart from your degree level, because you're going to use it, but prior to that, it's not necessarily in a way where it promotes critical thinking. And before you even get to uni, you are already thinking for yourself, So before you even get to the adult stage where you want to go to uni, you're not as exposed because the teaching system doesn't allow for that to happen. And also, I think it reflects a lot on the education system. But again, when she then talks about graduates, I'm like, okay. I think what she means, honestly, is the lack of exposure again, I think, because first of all, Nigeria is such an abnormal, it's an abnormal system, especially if you've been or you've grown in the country and that's all you've ever known. And you don't, let's say, even if you have, social media and all that, your way of life and your thinking, will not be as influenced because you're not living in that situation. So if you don't understand how a normal, or you don't have experience of how, infrastructure or good infrastructure works, or how a system that's actually functioning works, what Nigeria is to you becomes your normal. And then in a way, if you're not careful, you might assume that the rest of the world is like that too. But then again, it's lack of critical thinking allows for people to think that just because you're agitating for self-determination, you're calling for war. And it's so sad because no one really thinks for themselves these days. You're just listening to what somebody has said, because again, are you able to take in information, understand it? Okay, take in information, regurgitate it, understand it, and make meaning of what it is to you. I think that's the main thing. You think of what you find personal reason, and you personally decipher whether you want to go on with information or not. And I think it's so much. It has to do with our education system, which is absolutely poor. But then again, I think one issue that no one is taking into account is the importance of history. Because again, if you're taught basic history from, let's say, primary 1 till secondary school age, you know basically how you are, why your present is why your presence is what it is. And so again, if you don't teach history, there's never that sense of identity, because again, realistically, we're all just living together because we were amalgamated due to Lord Lugard and all that. But then history does teach you a lot. And of course, the Nigerian government knows that history is not, I'm not talking about history from the perspective of winners, just plain evident what it was kind of history, where it is obvious who did this and who did that and what actions were taken. They know that there would be an uprising. Absolutely. They know that. And it's absolutely poor. So yes, if you're advocating for Biafra or Oduduwa nation, it's a different thing when people who are benefiting from the system argue against it, thinking you're calling for war. But then it is those who do not think for themselves, the vulnerable, the easily influenced, that would think that you're also agitating for war, which of course, division amongst the people, it doesn't lead anywhere. Because again, if you try to work together to fight for a common cause, that togetherness is lost. And so if you're going to fight against people that are sort of oppressing you, you'd never really see that, and your plan just becomes unfruitful. But yeah, I believe what she's saying is absolutely right. I agree with her. Lack of knowledge, not just that. I think most importantly, exposure. You don't have to leave the country to be exposed. It's just, if you think, so how many people have, access to the internet? Even without that, for the education system, as I've said before, it is absolutely poor. I mean, there's certain things that, I remember, learning how to use a typewriter. Not that it's bad information, but if it was part of a history lesson, that's fine. But it was part of like a business lesson. So the fact was, so what was the point of me learning this? Because there's no way I'm going to go into the world and use a typewriter. So I feel like with our education system, it's absolutely poor. Vocational skills are out of the window. People are learning Pythagoras, and it's like not everyone's minds is made to just do that. People are very practical, and unfortunately, if you do not go with the sciences, or if you don't go with the very like STEM, science, technology, and all that, and mathematics, you're seen as unintelligent, which is absolutely not the case. So yeah, I think that vocational skills are out of our curriculum. Our curriculum has not been revised. It is absolutely so poor. But then again, you'd have to go to a private school, which is extremely expensive, for you to sort of have up-to-date information and revised revised work, revised learning. It's even sad because normally in other countries you have exam boards that are updating their syllabus with the constant. Again, our country is not industrious. Our country is not industrious. It's not like as if economically we're up there. It's not like as if when it comes to employment we're up there, tourism we're up there. We're not up there in so many other things. I mean, apart from music. Imagine, for example, there's a whole music and theatre school. Of course there is, but one of good standard. And of course, because Nigeria is at the top of the game when it comes to music. So with changes like, for example, Burna Boy winning a Grammy, types of music or influential music in the world globally, students have more of a realistic touch to it. As much as they're learning the theory of it, they can apply that to their daily lives because it is what they can see. So yes, I think this whole conversation is just about education, because that is a real problem. Especially, I think the most is history, because I think that if Nigerians knew properly their history in terms of the identity of how each ethnic group came to be, their history, and then the history of Nigeria, I believe that the kind of uprising, the government will not be able to contain it. Again, lack of knowledge, information failure and all that. It does add up to all these things. But yeah, it is what it is. I absolutely agree with Ifa. What's her name? Yeah, Ifa Funshaw. Put what you think about what she said in the comment section below, and do not forget to like and subscribe.